I want to share. Let's see. Find the appropriate screen. All right. So pull this over where I can see it. Everybody should see Omni. Actually, you'll notice this is omni.omniapp.co. So this is our internal.
I think you're not sharing it. Sorry, Conrad.
Oh, really? Let me try again. All right. How's that?
Great success.
Okay, so yeah, I was just saying, this is our internal instance, and the backstory on this is, I don't know, a couple months ago, I added some like debug logging, basically, that I write to the internal database for webhook, pull request webhook events to try and track this stuff down. And this week, I finally got around to doing a little model. Well, after that, I started ETLing it to our data warehouse so that we're not actually hitting our transactional database with any kind of queries. And this week I got around to modeling things a little bit to do a little debugging on somebody ran into an error with some webhook stuff, which does happen on occasion. Surprise, surprise. So I just wanted to show that I had taken this data and modeled it, and was just like, what a joy. It was so fun to like go in and be able to, get JSON and just parse JSON and build the fields, and it's actually was super useful for debugging, and I think it'll be useful for future debugging. And ultimately, I'd like to actually embed this into the analytics page or somewhere so that customers can use this data for debugging, and then we can also do some analytics on top of like, well, how many pull requests am I getting through, and like, what, are there errors? And I think there's just a lot of interesting stuff to do here when I get the time. So it was really exciting. And I wanted to show, some of the nuance of the data that we're ETLing. We actually obviously have different data centers and different databases backing them for each of the different regions that our instances are in. And so the data comes in, you'll see as, this table's webhook log US East. So the data's coming in, and I only want to model this once. And so I came in and I said, well, what can I do? And so what I did was I said, I'll use this this feature that we have for doing extension and templating. And so I built this webhook log extension view where I basically took all of the, JSON unpacking and put that there. And then for each.
Wait, Conrad, you dropped for like 1 minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like one screen backwards, I think you dropped.
Oh, bummer. I've probably got bad internet because I'm up in Bonnie Doon.
That's fine. It was like just before this, we scrolled down on this page.
Got it. Okay. So showing you what I've done here. I'm jumping back. I'm using the extends functionality to extend this webhook log ext view that I created, where I'm actually modeling the various dimensions. So basically what I'm doing is just unpacking the JSON. And what I was saying is like, okay, this is really cool and super useful, but it would be much more convenient if instead of extending from the webhook log extension, if I could instead use a dynamic schema. So everybody remembers we built dynamic schemas about a year ago that are user attribute based. But what if instead of dynamic schema, and caveat, this is, super fresh. I did this morning. We'll probably run into something, but hopefully it works. What if instead of dynamic schemas being simply user attribute based, And you can see I haven't actually regenerated the Omni YAML yet. So it's complaining about this missing attribute, user attribute, but I've made user attribute an optional parameter, and I've added this new parameter schema list. And so if we do this, then when I go into a new analysis, so you can see I've got this dynamic schema, which is based on the public schema in my backing database. So that's the from schema. And then I can go into a new analysis from here. And mind you, I've switched over to my local instance. And so if I come in here and I come down to, say, users, and I want to select something from users, I just want to know, count by age. This is our test data. Well, that's cool. It just gave me from the public schema, but because I put in this schema selector, oh, I told you I was going to run into some kind of a bug. Because it wants that. Don't mind the error. So I generated this this filter, which acts as a selector for the schema based on the schema list that was input into the dynamic schema definition. And now if I select public, it goes to the public. And this is actually going to fail because I haven't taken the time to actually build another schema that matches my public schema. But as you can see, I've actually gone in, and the SQL that we're generating, it won't plan it because it doesn't like it. But you can see I'm actually inputting the other schema.users table.
Woohoo!
So we're able to, select which schema you want. Taking this back to where I got the idea from, is basically it'd be much nicer to have a dynamic schema built on our US East tables as the from schema, and then we can simply say the different regions for this dynamic schema selector, and then we can model on top of these virtual schemas that are generated, and only model this data one time. And queries will work. We can build dashboards that will work across all the various regions. And I don't know, I thought it was fun. And it's also a little bit of a request for comment, showing this in its super early stages. But anyway, I was excited and wanted to share.